Hello and welcome everybody, my name is John Rammel. Today we are going to be reviewing NIRATIAS by Chevelle. To be fair, I haven't bought a Chevelle album in a long time. I got involved with Chevelle way back when in ...2002 when they released their album Wonder What's Next. And boy oh boy was that, I mean, it was just killer. From then on out, I was a huge Chevelle fan. At that point in time, my favorite band in the world was Tool, and I would have called them Tool's little brother. In the best way possible. There were a lot of people who were trying to mimic the sound of Tool. Basically, they sounded like Tool ripoffs, and Chevelle managed at a sound that they produced that was not a ripoff. They managed to sound like I said, Tool's little brother, while also having their own genuine and unique sound to only them, and it worked, and it worked really well for me. And to be fair, let's be fair, I kind of fell off. I stopped listening to Chevelle. Honestly, I had actually taken a mini break from Chevelle. It was like, oh, you know, they kind of fell off the map for me for a minute. And, you know, I'd rock out something, you know, Hats Off to the Bowl or something like that would come on the radio, and I'd be like, yeah, like, here we go, turn this up. But as far as, you know, rushing out the door to go get their album, I hadn't been doing that for a few years. And then Self-Destructor hit the radio, and I immediately I was on board. Okay, I'm looking at this, and I'm, okay, all right, and I hear it, and I got actually very excited. So then I go out, and I pick up the album literally on the day it drops, and it is, I drop it, and I listen to it. I just start listening, and immediately, the second I turn it on, I realize I'm in for an album. And I mean an album, not like, oh, this was, you know, I put together a grouping of 12 songs or however many there are, and they're just going to kind of roll at you one after the other, you know, the way music has kind of become consumed by the average people, the way it's been produced by the average band. And it's just a grouping of songs that they happen to write within the past year and a half, and that's about all you're going to get. Then there's the classic old school album idea. I mean, I wrote an album, and it's was written as an album. It was written as a grouping of songs. This song goes here, this song goes here. There are interludes, there are changes, there are instrumentals, there are, you know, the album ebbs and flows, and I bought it on vinyl. So to be able to just put in, set it down, drop the needle, and let it go, and let it take you on the journey and take you for that ride, and for one song to phase out, and then it to phase into the connecting track, and then into the next one. It was a feeling that you don't get very often in modern music, and I was here for it. I am here for it. And the brothers are killing it. I mean, they're absolutely just killing it. His guitars are chunky, and they are hard, and they're heavy, and they frolic when they need to. His guitars are on point, but as always with Pete, his vocals are intense. He has a technicality to his ability that not many people can reach. I mean, he can hit notes that, you know, most singers only dream of. He can hit them in a way I keep wanting to say no one, that's not true, but he can hit them in a way that very few people can, and he can hold them, sustain them, he can rock it, and he takes that, and he just, I mean, I wouldn't say he takes it to the next level, but he just continues to kind of edge it a little bit further and show you that he's not getting complacent. And then you puts it together with his guitars, which are really, really good as well. And then you just put it together, and it really, you're just like, it feels good to listen to. You have other singers that can do stuff like that too. You have people that can hit those notes, kind of like the technicality of, let's say, the lead singer of Shinedown. But the problem with him is you take him and his ability and you marry it with the music that they produce, which is the definition of mediocrity. And suddenly I don't care. Cool, sorry. Anyway, so, and then you got, hold on. This isn't fair. Like that. How are we doing? Sam. Okay. Then you got Sam. He's no Danny Carey. He's not going to be throwing anything like that at you. He gives you something that's so simplistic that you want to, in a lesser performance, you would be close to calling it meat and potatoes. It's borderline so simple that you're like, really? That's all you're gonna, but then it's so good. Oh my God, it sounds so good. I don't know how you can take drums so simple and fills so simple and make me enjoy it that much. So for me to take something that simple and be like, that I really, really enjoyed listening to that. You did something good with it. So you put it on and you're gonna immediately be met with verrückt. Verrückt is instrumental and it's just chunky and it's just heavy, and I have in my notes here written down, it's just good. That doesn't help me in the it doesn't, I don't know, that's what else do you say about it? And immediately after that, it drops you onto So Long Mother Earth. Now, So Long Mother Earth really hits the ground running. And I mean, really, it just like straight on, fast pace, good with the guitars, and the singing starts about 2 seconds in to the, it just wham, and it just picks up, and it's got a real kind of rolling, frolicking feeling to the guitars, and it is absolutely, it just, where it just really was, it's like, okay, now we're moving. And then you get to the chorus, and Pete's hitting these falsetto notes that are so crisp, and not the word, just beautiful falsetto, moves right up in there and just nails it with that one. And it's just so beautiful, yet the song is so heavy. It's good. It's good. Now we move into Mars Simula. This song let me down. What do you say about Mars Simula? Not great. Not great. Stacked on top of not great. Ooh, it's just really not good. It's just really not good. It's repetitive in a bad way. Like, on the flip side of those drums, right? So, oh my God, it's so simple, but in a good way. This is so repetitive in a not good way. It's just, it drags the whole album down. I'm not here for Mars Simula, and I'm sorry for that. But having said that, it immediately goes into Sleep the Deep, and Sleep the Deep is, holy crap, this is when and for this reason, it might be my favorite, or at least one of my favorite tracks on the entire album, and it's going to be probably skipped over in most reviews because it's not really a song. It is one of those connector things together. It's an interlude, whatever you want to call it, but it is amazing. It happened to me a couple times on this album. I was waiting for it to go somewhere, because it sounds good, really good. And I'm like waiting, oh, where's this gonna go? And then it just kind of fades out on you, and you're like, oh, okay. All right, that's what that was. And if this isn't your thing, believe you me, it's not gonna be your thing. So just put a playlist together where it's not in there. But for me, and like I said, that album feel, gosh, it was so good. Now I'm on a high. Like it fades out and I'm like, oh, you know, like I'm immediately perking up. Like what? I'm like, okay, so how do we follow this up? Self-Destructor right there. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it was just like a 1-2 punch. Obviously, I've already said that Self-Destructor was the entire reason why entire reason why I bought this album right off the bat, just like that. It's a good representation of everything that Chevelle is really good at, and it just keeps you a little off balance. It never falls into verse, chorus, the comfortable way of arranging a song and the comfortable way of getting you to flow through the song. It just keeps you a little unsure of where it's going to go and how it's going to go there and how it's going to do it, and that makes me happy. Then we move into Pistol Star, and Pistol Star is not a radio song in a good way. I mean, it's still got that good, heavy, chunky feel to it. It's still catchy, but it's less catchy. At this point, we're continuing that whole complete album feel, because now it feels like we're writing music for the sake of writing music. The album really feels like it shifts gears. It kind of shifts it down, slows it down, brings it to this, like I said, still heavy, but not super catchy. Really good song. I love it. Okay, then you move on to Wormhole, which is basically just 20 minutes of sound, and it's like smack dab in the middle of the album. It's another transitional song. So then we have Peach, and Peach, holy shit. You know what? It's heavy, it's haunting, it's amazing. It sounds so good. It is one of the best, easily, tracks on the album. The drums in this song is where I just, and he added in a click, like just snapping the sticks together, and it just sounds so satisfying to hear. It's just the best. It's probably my favorite drums on the whole album. It was good. I don't know what else to say. It was really good. Go listen to it. And then we make it to Test Enough. And this is another one. If this isn't what you're here for, you're either going to hate it or might not hate. You might just hit the skip button. It's just a simple riff, and it repeats through the whole maybe 2 minutes, but it just sounds good. And then he does some real simple kind of melodic singing, even more so than Sleep the Deep. When that one kind of built up and just kind of fades out to an end, I literally celebrated. Now we're making music for music's sake. We're making albums for the sake of an album. We're here for the music, and we're here to make a product that I want. That made my soul happy. So then the album transitions into Endlessly. It's almost like Pete sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to write the most beautiful thing I can. As it kicked in and as the first chorus goes through and I realized just how beautiful the song was, I was like, this is going to be the most boring song on the album. And in all fairness, it kind of is. You know, kind of verse, chorus. So it is that. But it's so beautiful that you just don't care. Yeah, technicality, but you know, when it's that pretty and it feels that good to listen to, you almost, oh well. Then you have Remember When, and it feels like the most radio-friendly song on the entire album. As far as songwriting is concerned, it feels safer than the other songs on the album. That's not to say it's bad, and once I heard it, I was surprised that it wasn't the radio. So like, you know, I feel like the producer's room would have been like, that's the one we want. Because it's, once again, it's just so good to listen to. So then you have Ghost and Razor, and this is probably the most experimental song on the whole album. It can't be avoided. It feels like Tool. Not modern Tool, not 2000s Tool. We went straight back to the 90s, stole a rejected song from Tool, and put it on our album. Once again, he somehow does it while still sounding very Chevelle, and I don't even feel bad about the fact that they did it. Okay, so it's definitely not the best track on the album as far as what it is compared to where it's placed on the album as an album experience. It fits there so well. And then you got lost in Digital Wood, and people are gonna hate this. I love it. It's a spoken word, almost like, and he whispers it. It's like a whispered spoken word track, and he's doing one of these numbers. It's so far out there. People are gonna hate it, and I love it because it's a closer. If you look back to the late 90s, there was always a closer. Sometimes the last track would give you like 69 seconds of silence, and then it would pop up with this weird closer. And that's what this is. It wasn't even a song. You're not going to put it on your playlist unless you're really strange. That's the best I can give for that one. So in conclusion, I mean, let's all crap aside. You have bands that are good. You have bands that are really good. And then you have just greatness. And I would say that Chevelle has always, for me, since fallen into really good. They've never slipped. Some bands start out really good, and then as time goes on, you're like, boo. Chevelle has never done. They've never slipped. And with this album, I would say that Chevelle has taken one good, solid step towards greatness. I wouldn't say they've achieved it, and that's good. That's good enough for me. So, rating. What would I rate this album? Okay. So when it came to rating this album, I went round and round for a minute. Because if it wasn't for Mars Simula, I would have given it just an 8.5 right off the bat. Like, pfft, that's an 8.5. That's maybe not a 9 out of 10, because that's kind of close to perfect. But it's definitely an 8.5. I mean, come on. Let's be real. But then you got Mars Simula, and it just isn't good, and it's dragging the album down. But then, at the same time, I just came around to the fact that the album feel of this was so good. The old school vibe was so good. It kind of nullifies the fact that there's a bad song on the album. So in my book, Chevelle NIRATIAS was a solid 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.